Hi, welcome to another episode of the DevTalks series for SAP HANA Cloud. And today I have with me the area product owner for the connectivity service, Timo Lakner.
Hello.
Hi Timo.
Hi.
Timo, I was looking into the connectivity service for SAP HANA Cloud, and maybe you could explain to the viewers and audience of this what the connectivity service for SAP HANA Cloud is. So
Sure.
I also heard something about the cloud connector. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Yep. Okay, so first of all, it's a service of the platform. So it comes integrated with the SAP HANA Cloud platform, and you can use it to build on-demand applications which integrate with your on-premise systems.
So nothing that you have to install separately.
You have to install something separately.
Okay.
This is exactly this SAP HANA Cloud connector.
Okay.
This is an on-premise agent, a software component which you have to install in your isolated network, in your on-premise network. And it is able to establish a secure technical connectivity to your cloud account.
Why do I need that? Isn't that secure anyways?
The cloud account, or the cloud of course, is secure. But imagine you have an on-demand application running in your account in the cloud, and you want to use backends which are installed on your customer networks. And of course you have firewalls in between. You have a firewall in front of your on-premise network, and the application cannot directly access the backend.
Okay.
So of course it's an option that you configure the firewall and open some ports, which makes the backend accessible. But then you also have to be prepared for internet attacks like denial of service attacks and things like this.
For that port that is opened, right?
For the port that is open. So with the Cloud Connector, we changed the approach. The Cloud Connector establishes an SSL tunnel from within your on-premise network, and it connects outgoing to the cloud, which is accessible via standard internet connection. And by this, such attacks from the internet are not possible.
Okay.
So you can also draw a picture a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So because it's tunneled, right? Is that
it's tunneled, right?
Yeah, maybe you can.
Okay, so let's say we have the cloud over here.
Okay.
So let's draw the cloud.
Okay.
And you have an application
inside the cloud.
Inside the cloud. Of course, the application is always running in the context of a certain customer, in the context of a certain account, as we say, in the cloud. And you have the customer network shielded by DMZ and firewalls and things like this.
Yeah.
So here's the customer network.
Behind the firewall.
Exactly, behind the firewall. So this is the firewall, let's say. And in your network you have various backend services or backend systems, like a CRM system, like a suite, ECC, a network gateway, and so on.
So all kind of on-premise systems. Also again inside your customer network, but always behind the firewall.
Exactly. And the systems can be SAP systems or non-SAP systems. So this is not important in this for the solution, let's say.
Yeah.
And as I said, of course, you could now open a port here in the firewall and make it accessible to the internet. But then, of course, everybody from the internet
can look into that port and
try to bring it down, for instance, by denial of service attack. So what we are doing with the connectivity service is we deliver an on-premise agent. This is our connector.
And which is also again installed on the customer network.
Exactly, it's installed in the customer network.
Okay.
And it securely opens the tunnel from the customer network to the cloud. So in this direction. And once the tunnel is established, the tunnel is persistent.
Okay.
So meaning the cloud application can then make calls, SSL calls, through this tunnel, through the cloud connector, and then to the relevant backend.
So what you're actually creating is a kind of a VPN tunnel between the cloud connector and the application running in the cloud.
Exactly, it's an SSL VPN tunnel.
Okay.
And once you've installed the cloud connector, none of your systems are visible by default. So the default is nothing is visible, and you have to configure each system, and for each system which resources or which URL paths, for instance, for HTTP, are visible.
So again, creating an additional level of accessibility so that not everything is really exposed.
Exactly.
If you don't want explicitly to expose it, right?
Exactly. So the guiding principle is the on-premise administrator of the Cloud Connector should have full control what is accessible, when the tunnel is established, when it is shut down. So the control should really be on the customer side.
Okay. So and this is something that you need to install on your local environment, local network environment behind the firewall.
Yes.
Opening up whatever URL path or resources you want to open up to the outside world through this tunnel to your application. That's something I understand. So meaning that from that point on, once this is established, the communication is established, the cloud application would be running as it would be running inside your customer network, right?
Yes, exactly.
Restricted, of course, to these resources that you give that application.
Yes. Yeah. So we think that such a service is very important for SAP and the cloud, because as you can imagine, the customers have made a lot of investments in these backends, a lot of investments in SAP systems, and we like to also extend these systems to the cloud, so that you can really stepwise go into the cloud. Start maybe with a certain scenario you have in mind and write hybrid applications which run in the cloud, but which are able to consume your backends. So,
of course, this scenario would also enable some kind of gateway service, right? So that you have maybe between your on-premise solution and this cloud connector, right?
Yes.
It's just not another resource.
That's another resource, and that's currently one of our major scenarios that we have for mobile and for other scenarios that we consume NetWeaver gateway systems on-premise, because they are very handy to consume the content in this REST-like way, OData format, and that's possible. Exactly.
So so this is the cloud connector. I got that one. So what about, let's say, these this additional connectivity, these connectivity possibilities that SAP HANA Cloud offers? Is there a difference?
Additional connectivity possibilities.
If you, for example, if you double-click your SAP HANA Cloud server, then you have this connectivity field. So is that related and connected to the Cloud Connector?
Yeah, this is connected to the Cloud Connector. This is related to the so-called destinations. This is something which is running here in the application VMs.
Okay.
It comes with our NetWeaver SAP HANA Cloud API. So here it's again another box
inside the application.
Destination.
So we're talking about destinations. Okay.
And a destination comes with an API part, which the application can use. And logically, a destination is just a symbolic name.
Kind of a GNDI lookup.
Yeah, a symbolic name that you can register in the GNDI, and that you can then look up at runtime from the GNDI in your application. But basically, the application can say, I like to use my backend or my CRM backend, something like this. And at configuration time, you can configure then this symbolic name with the real connectivity details of this backend, like you specify the URL, the credentials, username, password, and things like that. Okay,
so it's kind of an additional means for you to code such kind of connection much easier. So instead of really putting everything into your code, you have one central place where you create, you list up all the destinations that you use with the corresponding information, and after that, it's much easier than to code that into your Java application.
Exactly, it's easier, and especially if you sell applications to different customers, you like to configure the destinations or the backends specifically for the customers. You cannot hardwire them in the code. So we like to have a possibility to configure those connections specific to the customer, so also in a tenant context, so to say, or specific for an account where it is used.
So you said that the Cloud Connector is related to these destinations. So how is that? Or did I misunderstood you? Misunderstand you?
So both parts, the destination from the cloud side as an API, and the Cloud Connector as this on-premise agent, they form the connectivity service, so to say.
That's what the bundle that we deliver
Yes,
with
exactly.
with the product. I see.
And of course, in the cloud, there is also some further infrastructure to establish these tunnels, which is completely transparent for you as a user. This is operated and hosted by us, so to say.
So regarding the cloud connector that you install on your on-premise environment, so how secure, let's say, is it? You just said that, of course, the customers really spend a lot of efforts to keep the systems inside the network consistent and highly performant and also secure. So what kind of, let's say, qualities does this cloud connector have to really make the connection between the on-premise world and the cloud world a reliable one?
So to answer this question in much detail, I would like to refer to a security white paper that I have published in SDN.
Okay, I will put that to the links.
We can add this link, but just to mention a few of the qualities. So first of all, as I already mentioned, the Cloud Connector establishes the connection from inside to the outside. So there is no access to your backends from the internet. This is one. Then, of course, we have SSL connection between all the hops from the application to the Cloud Connector and from the connector to the backends. And with mutual authentication. So we validate the cloud identity and vice versa. The cloud identity validates the identity of the Cloud Connector. So these are the basic measures, let's say, that everything is encrypted and nothing is in clear text.
So meaning also that the communication between the Cloud Connector and the application is through the tunnel already not readable, right?
Exactly, yeah. Then on the Cloud Connector we have further options to manage the access control. We already mentioned this. And we have an audit log on the Cloud Connector level so that you can see all the traffic which is floating through it. You can see the positive traffic which is going through without problems. And you can also see if there are requests coming in which are denied for certain reasons, because
wrong password, for example.
Wrong credentials, something like this. So you could also detect then if something is suspicious, let's say.
Okay. And can you access these logs also through the cloud?
No, not yet.
Cloud system? Okay.
Not yet. So right now these audit logs are plainly here on the on-premise side in the Cloud Connector.
I see.
We're thinking of ways to integrate this into other systems. So there are, for instance, options to integrate it into the Solution Manager, SAP Solution Manager, or into SAP NetWeaver. So these are options we are currently discussing.
Yeah. So talking about things coming in the future, so you just talked now about that one with the logs. What comes next from this whole Cloud Connector or connectivity services that SAP HANA Cloud provides? What are the next big things? Okay, so
we have a lot of topics on our roadmap right now. So right now we have, let's say, a first solution, but it has its limitations. I mean, we currently only support HTTP as protocol, HTTP, HTTPS. And we have some limitations in regards of the operating system PAM of the Cloud Connector. We currently only support SUSE Linux.
Okay.
It's less. And these are topics where we are working on right now. So for the operating system PAM, we plan to support also Windows, Mac OS, and further Linuxes. So it will become more easy for a developer also to get started with the whole stuff, to download the SEC from our update site and install it locally on your Mac or Windows PC.
I see.
Then also an important point is that we also want to, we will support RFC, so we are in the last mile, let's say, to
remote function calls.
Remote function calls, ABAP. So you can then directly go to your ABAP system and make use of BAPIs that you like to make accessible.
Oh, cool.
Of course, also with access control then on the Cloud Connector again. So these will be topics. Then we have something like principal propagation in our roadmap. Principal propagation means you like to propagate the user that is logged on here on the on-demand side in your cloud application to your backend via the Cloud Connector.
Oh, okay.
This is something which will start soon. Then we like to become also more flexible in regards of the API that you can use in your application.
Yeah.
So I explained right now you have to use destinations as the only way we support for these remote communications. But in the future we would like to get rid of this limitation, and you should be able to use any kind of API, Java API, in your application. The only thing we need is that the API is able to communicate via a proxy to the target, so to say. Because the tunnel will expose to the application in the future as a proxy. And then you're free to use your favorite API, so to say.
Okay, cool. Anything else coming that you would like to stress in this video, or maybe what you like most from the connectivity service? Yeah, as I said, the beauty is that you can really make use directly of your made investments. That you can, for instance, call NetWeaver Gateway and get OData documents, which are perfectly supported also by our UI5 technology, so that you can really quickly create UIs, applications, consuming real backends and real data. This is what the biggest advantage is of the connectivity service. Okay, cool. Thanks, Timo. Okay. Thanks for you guys for listening. Again, if you have questions that you have and that you didn't find answered yet, just ping either Timo or me. You find the Twitter handles in this video below. So for you it's T_Lakner or T Lakner? T Lakner. T Lakner, and mine is Rui Nogueira. Thanks for listening, and hope to see you soon at one of the next DevTalk episodes. Bye bye. Bye bye.